Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to Wednesday Morning with Constance, aka Connie, as my friends call me. I am so happy that I am back on. I took a break for a minute, maybe a little bit longer than a minute, but I took a break for a minute and now I'm back. And again, I'm Constance Howard, aka Connie, and I'm an executive coach for women 45 plus who want to make significant changes in their lives. But they have some challenges like the imposter syndrome and limiting beliefs and, a little bit of self doubt. I had all of that in my nearly 40-year career in TV news. And so now I help women overcome those challenges so they can live the best life that they imagine for themselves. So that's who I am. Put it in the chat where you're watching me from. If you're in the Washington, Maryland area, as I am, or if you're out of the area, I'd love to know. Let me hang on a second here. Let me make sure that, yeah, I enabled my comments so I'll be able to see them. Let me know where you're watching from, and also let me know if this is your first time, because I'd love to know. I wanted to just tune in today just to kind of see how you were doing. So, my question today for you is, how are you? No, really, like, how are you? I want you to drop the mask and just think for a second, just what you're feeling and how you're feeling. I got to say, for me, I go between anger and sadness and, resignation and just hopelessness, right? There's all of the stuff that's going on right now in our country. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers have been furloughed, uh, and there's no end in sight, as they say. I don't want to be sound hopeless, but it just doesn't seem like our government is eager to make this furlough come to an end. I'm not a federal worker, but I have relatives who are federal workers and friends who are federal workers, and my heart goes out to them. And so, if I was going to be honest, I would say, yeah, there are days when I'm just really angry. I don't know about you. Put it in the chat how you're feeling: angry, confused, anxious. I know that a lot of people are feeling anxious. You just don't know from day to day what you'll be able to, afford. When is this going to come to an end? How will I pay my bills? How will I make ends meet? How will I take care of my kids? I think that this situation has just caused a lot of anxiety, not just for adults, but for family members as well. So I want to know, how are you coping with this situation that we currently are experiencing? You know, I have to say that it's not just what's happening politically in the country. That's on top of the personal lives and the personal challenges that we all face. I have friends who are facing some pretty serious challenges in their life, and it can be overwhelming. It can be really overwhelming. So I wanted to talk today about that, um, and I wanted to just, like I said, I want to know how you're feeling and how you're doing. Something is up with my camera, so let me take a minute to fix that. I'm not sure why I went blurry here. So I'm going to take a minute to figure that out. If you would just hang with me for a second here. Um, I'm going to, oh, here we go. There we go. I don't know what that was all about. And I was in a bit of a panic because if you know me, I'm not technically savvy. So back to what I was talking about. I want you to put in the comments, just tell me how you're feeling. There was a Washington Post article recently, and they talked to federal workers. And some of the comments just really broke my heart. One person said, when did federal workers become the enemy? And why are we considered the enemy? Why are people saying you know, we're lazy and we don't deserve to be paid and all of those things? That was pretty tough to read. And I'm sure for the people who made those comments, it was tough for them as well. I want to make sure that people know that it is not, this whole situation didn't happen because of them. They are not bad people. Federal workers are not bad people. They're our relatives, our friends, you know, they're our neighbors. They're not bad people. There's an African proverb that goes, when the elephants fight, it's the grass that gets trampled. And it is so true. It's the everyday people that get trampled in this situation. And so I want you to know that it's not you. You are not the enemy, and you are not alone. Millions of people are praying for you and standing with you. They want to support you, right? Because we believe that you are good people. We are good people. We are hard workers, and we want to make sure that you know that. So I want to talk about some of this. Hang on a second. My doorbell is ringing. So let me just answer that really quickly. Hold on. Must be a problem. Okay, guys. OMG, I can't believe that my friend dropped by in the middle of my live segment. But anyway, life be life. So, yes, so I want to talk today about, how you're feeling and what you're feeling. And, I just want to remind you that there's so many of us who are supporting you, praying for you, and hoping that we can bring this whole furlough situation to an end. And to that end, I want to give you some suggestions on how to maintain your emotional and mental health during a tough time like this. Now, some of the things I'm going to talk about, I don't want you to walk away and go, okay, well, that was pretty elementary or pretty trite, um, because that's not my intent. My intent is not to suggest things. My intent is not to ignore the very serious situation that thousands of people find themselves. That's not it. My intent is to remind you to take care of yourself, remind you that in all this chaos, right, you can't lose yourself. And I want you to take care of yourself. I've been in situations where everything looked really bleak. I don't know. Some of you may remember the 2008, 2010, that those years in there when our economy was really going to hell in a handbasket. And it was just the time when I decided to be a real estate agent, and the market imploded. I kept thinking, no, our government's going to get it together, and they eventually did, but it wasn't in time for me. And so I lost everything I had. I lost my house, I lost my car, I lost everything. And I, did not know which way to turn, and I had no idea how I was going to recover. And the things that I'm going to talk about today helped me hold on to my emotional stability. It helped me to hold on to, um, who I am and what my core values are. And there were days that I was really good and I was up, and there were days when I was down and I had to just sit in my feelings. And so um, I want to make sure that I want to remind you, that's a good word. I want to remind you of some of these things so that if you find yourself laughing, right, at something, you don't stop yourself and think, hey, I'm going through a horrible situation. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. I need to get serious. Um, I want you to know that, live life, live life. So I'm going to start off with stay informed, but don't become overwhelmed with um, news and information. The steady drip, drip, drip of negative news can really wear you down. And so I want you to be informed and I want you to know what's going on, but I don't want you to sit in front of the TV or listen to the radio or, and get a constant nonstop drip of negative news of he said, she said, and who's right and who's wrong, right? Stay informed, but don't become overwhelmed. I know for me, I love, obviously, I used to be a TV journalist. I love TV news, but I had to limit how much I take in. I can't have endless conversations about what's going on. I found myself becoming more anxious and more um, and angrier. And so I had to walk away. So I choose the time when I want to hear what's going on, and I limit how much I take in. And that might be something for you to consider. When do you take in the negative news? When do you take it in? And how much do you take it in? Consider that. And don't think it's a bad thing that you're not constantly hearing what's going on. This is a this is a time when you want to protect your emotional and mental well-being. Focus on what you can do. Focus on what is in your control and do that. So, for example, if you're thinking that now is the time for you to maybe pivot to a different career or a different job, now's the time to think about that. Focus on that. That's something that you can decide, and that's something that you can pursue. And that is within your control. And if you're preparing for a new career, that's good too. I have a friend who was laid off after spending 28 years at one company. She just abruptly was laid off. They called her in and said it was because of economic downturn, and then she had no job. That was such a gut punch for her. She went through all of the emotions that many of you are going through. How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to help my son go through college? All of those things. Um, but then she started thinking about this dream she had many, many years ago about starting her own pie baking her company. She is a wonderful baker, and she makes the best sweet potato pies. I mean, the best. Um, and so once she got over that initial gut punch, she was able to think about maybe now is the time for me to pursue my dream of building my own company. And that's what she did. And she's doing very well. She's selling her pies, and she's just slowly um, building a company that she loves. Right? So focus on what you can do what you can control. Think about the things that you can do, how you can pivot to something else. Now, remember, you're not starting over, right? You're starting with strengths and experience. You have experience, you have skills, you have talents that are valuable and needed. So don't think, oh my God, I'm at this age and I'm starting over in finding something to do. Don't look at it like that. Get a different perspective on it. You're starting from experience, you're not starting over. One of the things that I had to realize when I went through my bankruptcy was that material possessions don't make me. And you couldn't have told me that before my bankruptcy, because I love the things I had. I'll be honest with you. I love them. I loved my house, and, I enjoyed my car. I enjoyed all of those things. But once they were taken away, I realized that they didn't define me. Those things are not who I am. They don't represent my core values. And so when I looked at it that way, it was easy to let go. Now, I'm not telling you that, you should let go of your possessions. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is, don't think that if for some reason you don't have that car, or you start driving, something different, or you move someplace else, that's going to define who you are, because possessions don't define you. I also want to remind you that you've probably had some times in your life when you, you went through a tough time and you got over it. God brought you through it. I want you to think about those times. You're resilient. This is a tough time. This may be like never before, but you'll get through it because you have past experience of facing tough times and making tough decisions and getting through tough situations. And because you know that you did it before, you'll be able to do it now. Be kind to yourself. When I was going through the bankruptcy, I said terrible things to myself. Like, how could you do it? How could you be so dumb? How could you make such a bad decision? I really beat myself up. Now it's not the time for you to beat yourself up. And despite what people want to make you think about yourself and the job that you did, it's not true. So be kind to yourself. Take breaks, take a walk, and get clarity. And let me just say this, please limit social media. People get on, social media, and they say things about groups of people that simply are not true. They call you names and things that are not true. And even though you may, know in your head that it's not true, it's tough to read. It is tough to read. So why subject yourself to that? Just limit your social media, the places you go, the things that you take in. Don't go down that dark rabbit hole of reading social media. I gotta say, I find myself taking in more and more um, dog videos. You know, I don't want to open the door for that negativity to come in and to take over my emotions and my mental well being. Exercise. I know you hear this all the time, but psychologists say that if you move your body, right, if you exercise, your mind will follow. You will feel so much better. You know, there are endorphins and things that will be released, and you'll feel so much better about yourself. And you may take up a new hobby. Now's the time. Now, I always talk about journaling because I love to journal. I love to journal. Um, and some of my journals are pretty raw. And some of them, I would never want anyone to read them, because journaling is an outlet for you to let go of negative and harsh feelings. And so I want to encourage you to journal. Put everything, just do a mind dump, so to speak, in your journal, but get it out. Don't let your negative feelings or your anger, don't let it bottle up inside of you. And first and last of all, I want you to share with your family and your friends how you're doing, how you're feeling. As I said earlier, you are not alone. You are not alone. There are millions of people who are praying for you and supporting you and want to be there for you. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I don't want to burden somebody with my fears and concerns. You're not burdened. You're not putting a burden on your family and friends, and you need that support. Now is the time um, to, as I said earlier, take off the mask. Take off the mask and let your family and friends know how you're feeling and how you're doing. I said earlier that I have family and friends who are part of the military, and I have family and friends who are going through really, really tough situations, and I check in on them. I check in on them. I want them to talk about how they're doing and what they're feeling. And sometimes I don't have words. I don't have words to comfort them, but just being with them, just sitting with them provides them with some sort of comfort. So if you find yourself, you're not a federal worker, your life is going pretty good, then be there for your friend. Be there for somebody else. Because God forbid the situation change and you need them to be with you. So I just wanted to come on today and talk about these things because, as I said, it's been weighing heavy on my heart. And I wanted to let people know that I'm praying for them, even though I don't know who they are. I'm praying for them and I'm supporting the people who are hard workers and good people who find themselves, you know, in the middle of two elephants warring. And I want them to know that it will get better and it will be better. And to that end, if you're watching live or if you watch the replay of this and you want to talk to me, please put it in the chat how I can get in touch with you and I will follow up. You can also go to my website, which is constancehowardllc.com, and you can book a free 15-minute conversation with me. My calendar is going to be open. I want people, I want to help people any way that I can. And, this is my way of giving back. So let me know what you thought of this chat and put that in the chat. Put it in the comment section. If you need to talk with me, again, constancehowardllc.com, and you can book an appointment there. I would love to hear from you. And in the meantime, take care of yourself.